I was a flight engineer in the 8th Air Force, and I flew 26 missions. Our bomb group went over in early '42. Curtis LeMay took the group over. What I thought I'd talk about is a little bit of luck that I had while I was flying these missions. We all had luck or we wouldn't be here. We were training in Gulfport, and we were shooting touch and go landings on a B-17, and it was 7:10 in the evening. It was dark, and we came in, and we were probably about 90 miles an hour when we stalled out and the wheels touched. The trouble was we had a malfunction in the landing gear, and the wheels weren't there. So we bellied in, the oxygen system went up, everything was on fire. There was the 5 skeleton crew, the 2 pilots, navigator, radio operator, myself, and then we also had a checkout pilot that was checking our pilot out on landings. So, we all got out of the plane. The plane was destroyed completely. The fire from the oxygen really works real fast. For 2 weeks after, we were on the firing line with the FBI, interviewing us individually in rooms because they thought we had sabotaged the plane. Just because the gear, now the gear showed, everything showed the gear was down, but of course it wasn't. Also, while we were down there, in the training, they were flying these planes night and day, so they weren't getting service too much. We had 3 electrical fires in the air, which we put out. We had a runaway prop, and if you haven't had a runaway prop on a B-17, you take off, you're doing 2,500 RPM with 46 inches of mercury, but in a hurry, that prop really goes. So I was lucky, slipped an amplifier in, and we went back to normal. On another takeoff, we had number 4 engine blow, and they told us that we had blown 7 pistons. That engine just literally fell apart. But with 3 other engines, why, of course, we did what a B-24 can do. We just proceeded to go out and land again. We left Savannah, Georgia, took a plane up to Goose Bay, Labrador, and after 10 days of laying around there, waiting for a 30-mile-an-hour speed, 30-mile-an-hour tailwind, while we took off for Iceland. We were cruising at about 8,000 feet over the North Sea, and all of a sudden, well, you want to remember, we had de-icer boots, no fluid. Also, we had no oxygen. But at 8,000 feet, we're icing up. The ice is forming on the wings, and when that ice breaks loose at 3, 4, 5 inches on the wings, why, it sounds like 100 kids throwing rocks at you. It really scared the heck out of me. So we went up to 13,000 feet, and then the ice disappeared. Well, about an hour later, we started getting silly because we didn't have any oxygen. So we came back down to 6,000 feet, and we came over to Iceland. We landed we had a 60-mile-an-hour wind that we landed in. The day before, it had been 100 miles an hour. They get them up there, and they blow the airplanes away. So when we landed, they said I should put somebody in the waist because it was so windy. Well, I said, what for? He said, in case the plane blows away. Well, we got over to our bomb group, the 305th, and on our first mission, it was a Dresden mission, and you know, everybody knows what happened on the firebombing there. Well, we took off. It was a very, very foggy day, so we were on instruments practically immediately. We took off. The next plane behind us crashed into our barracks site, and I've got some pictures there. You can see what our barracks looks like after RDX bombs wipe it out, because that's what they did. When we got home, we had to sleep in the church, so I got pretty religious. I'm a Jewish, and I'm a Protestant, and I'm a Catholic, because we couldn't talk when we were having services. Now, after this plane crashed, the next two planes taking off crashed outside the air base. And then not long ago, that was in the 8th Air Force magazine. But there was 25 men killed in the 3 planes. One of my buddies was sleeping in a barracks when he was killed. We had some of these, you're getting the idea about the luck. We had 2 missions where we aborted. On one of them, a pilot, we had an excellent pilot, and he came back and we made a 2-wheel landing, beautiful landing, and we pulled to the end of the runway, and the plane, the right wheel blew up, just wiped out. So if we'd have come in a little bit rough, I don't think I'd be here today, because we were carrying RDX bombs, and they're pretty wicked. One morning we came, I think some couple of years ago, I asked if anybody in this place had, any of the group had heard of Disney bombs. At that time we had 1 person here. Well, we came out one morning to the plane, and there was 2 external bombs hanging on the inboard on each side of the plane. They were called Disney bombs, 4,500 pounds each. And they had a steel nose charge and a rocket in the back end. And the idea, we flew at 13,000 feet when we dropped them. And the idea is that after you get at an angle, the rocket kicks in. I never did find out if they were for submarine pens with 30 feet of concrete. So they quit using them, so I don't think they were too good. But you can imagine a B-17 can't carry as much as a B-24. What, 9,000 pounds, and you got your 6,800 rounds of ammunition, you got your fuel, everything. So we used 6,000 feet of runway on both those takeoffs. And I was talking to the pilot last night in Salt Lake, and he said, yeah, he says, we were a little worried. On my 9th mission, now rank didn't mean much in the service. If you were an officer, Colonel Craig, he was leading our group on my 9th mission, and his plane blew up in front of us, so at that time a colonel didn't mean much. On our 10th mission, we had taken off, and we were on our way to the target. And this is luck again. The co-pilot's flying off of this plane here, so he's not looking over here at the pilot. And I was in the turret, of course, in the top turret, and I looked down, and the pilot was slumped over. He had passed out. His basket froze up, so I always carry, the engineer always carries extra parts, so forth. And so I took his mask off, put another one on, shot him some oxygen, and he came out of it. Well, later on, we went over the target, and we got hit pretty heavy in the nose. Navigator got wounded, so the bombardier is going to navigate us home. Well, he got us lost, so we're out of fuel. We're at 3,000 feet. We've got our parachutes on. We come out of the clouds, and right below us, we're over France. There's a fighter base, and so we landed. Well, that's a little bit of luck too. Well, we took the navigator in and left him there because he was wounded. And so while we were eating, I had asked the ground crew of fighters whether if they would check the plane, see if it was okay to gas up and fly back home. So when I came out, they said, yeah, the plane's fine, and we put some gas in it, and so you can go. So we got home. The next day, the crew chief chewed me out for bringing the plane back. The main right spire was shot in two, and we had a big chunk of flak hanging above number 3 in the fuel tank, above number 3 supercharger. So he blamed me for not doing a better job. But in the first place, it was pretty hard to see. You can't see inside of a wing. On our 18th mission, we had number 4 engine on fire. The co-pilot pulled the fire extinguisher and it didn't work. So I went back in the waist, and that flame was way back behind the wing. It was really hot. So that really scared you. But the co-pilot took and managed with the cowl flaps put the fire out, which is, I think, pretty lucky. Then we went to feather the prop, and the feathering line broke. So we had a windmilling prop, and we had fighters in the area, and we were flying about 100, 110 miles an hour, just barely hanging through the air, because that propeller is windmilling if you go any faster, and it's just shaking the heck out of that airplane. So we managed to get home okay. On the 24th mission, we went to the rest home, and we came back late at night. It was about 11 o'clock. Now, we used to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning, eat at breakfast at 2, take off at 5:30. And so we got back late at 11 o'clock that night, and we were supposed to fly a mission the next day. So they scrubbed us and replaced us. We were flying deputy lead, and they replaced us with another crew. Well, 3 jets hit the group over the target, and they killed one of the jet pilots. But this jet, 262, crashed into the plane and blew up the plane that replaced us. So that pretty much covers what I'm referring to as being lucky. I'm lucky to be here, and so are the rest of you.
Very good.